Hey everyone, welcome to LimitLess Radiocast, episode 45. Do us a favor, everybody. Go out there and share a show for us. Get our audience bigger, broader, and get the information that we are bringing each and every week out there. We appreciate it very much. We appreciate you and everything that you guys are doing for us. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. We'd like to thank True Tubes Tattoo Supply for sponsoring this show. All you tattooers out there, go out and get all your equipment, your inks, your needles, your pens, your PPE, anything you need for tattooing. True Tubes Tattoo Supply has you covered. Limitless at checkout. Get a 10% discount. Check them out. Remember, stay true. We'd also like to thank Magic City Brewing Company located in Akron, Ohio. For all your wonderfully great crafted beers, check out Magic City Brewing in Akron, Ohio. Remember to go out there and check out rollamongus.com also. For all your fight gear needs, they have fight shorts, gis, standard gis, lanky gis, rash guards, anything. Some t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories. You want it, they got it. Rollamongus.com, Limitless20 at checkout for a 20% discount. Check them out. Also, go out there and check out battlebomb.com. Limitless20 at checkout for a 20% discount. They have CBD and non-CBD rubs for those aches, pains, those muscle strains. Put it on. Rub it in, gonna feel great, trust me. Try it out a little bit, see what it does. I'm telling you right now, I use it all the time. It's gonna feel great. Remember, battlebomb.com, Limitless20 at checkout. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Today, got another amazing guest with us hanging out, Mr. Chad Lyman. He is a second-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he is the head coach at Extreme Couture MMA in Las Vegas, as well as Las Vegas Krav Maga. He has been a LEO for more than 20 years, training people and officers on weapons, combatives, also coaching jiu-jitsu and MMA along the way. And he has, it's a plethora, everyone out there, because so I'm going to let Mr. Lyman explain more of his background, because I don't think Mr. Lyman has never served in one part of law enforcement. After reading stuff, I was like, good night, Irene. So anyway, Mr. Lyman, thank you so much, man, for hanging out with us, talking jiu-jitsu. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, and in fact, I'm overdue for my third degree. Nice. As a black belt, it's just time. I received my black belt in 2012. I will actually see my coach in a week away, and he'll just, no big ceremony, he'll just put one on one of my belts. He told me just put it on, and I felt weird. So
yeah.
I'll wait till I see you, bro.
That's a faux pas in it. Like you just don't
Michael
do that.
Chapman, we live in different states. We don't get to see each other. And he was like, hey, you are there. You get your third degree. And I was like, well, when I see you, you can just slap it on one of my belts and then we'll go from there. So I'm actually at third degree at this point. And been in jiu-jitsu and MMA since 1998. And then I've been a black belt since 2012. And still training regularly, training hard with great people. Law enforcement wise, and that's kind of been the story of both my jiu-jitsu and my law enforcement journey. Is I've just been around great people, man. Phenomenal human beings, great coaches, great teammates. I've been around better people for over 2 decades, and probably my best attribute is I'm very consistent and I will work very hard. But I've just been around great guys, and that's true in law enforcement too. I worked for the Portland Police Bureau in Portland, Oregon, coming out of college. I grew up in the southwestern U.S., California, Phoenix, Arizona.
Sure.
Got family in Utah. Went on an LDS mission to England, had some health issues, so they brought me back stateside. I finished in Nevada. And so then after my mission, married my sweetheart, who we've been married over 30 years now. We've got 8 kids together. We got 3 daughters and 5 boys.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. 30 plus years of marriage. And man, I look at the things that have happened to me from the time I was a teenager on into those early marriage years and then formative years career-wise. And I've just been really, really blessed. So some of that is trying to choose good things, right?
Sure, yeah, make good decisions, right?
But certainly I'm not responsible for everything I've been given. I've been given far more than I deserve. And I feel like that with law enforcement. You mentioned I've served in a plethora of assignments. I worked for the Portland Police Bureau coming out of Portland State University, where I went and got my degree. And then I worked for the Bureau for about 6 years. And then I came back down south to Vegas, Vegas Metro in 2004. And have worked over the years in high risk patrol. I've worked on gun and gang units, gun and gang task force. I worked SWAT full time as an operator. I worked Homeland Security on an on what kind of like a street crimes team, where we would go to hot spots in the city and hit hot spots and attack. Like if we were having a lot of bad gang activity or robberies or stuff like that, we would go and hunt basically those guys, which was a great team. That was a lot of fun.
I bet it was.
Really, really good. And that was in Vegas. SWAT was in Vegas. The only thing I really did in Portland was I was patrol, and then I was in a heavy gang area, and I got assigned a 2-man car with just a great guy. He was my partner for the last 3 years. I worked for the police bureau up there, and he and I had gone to the academy together. And so we were really close. We're close to this day.
Awesome. That's very cool.
And then I moved down to Vegas. Did the FTO thing, which is where I train new officers. Was in the training bureau for a while. So I've really had a varied career with a lot of just great opportunity. I'm an instructor in firearms and then tactics and also defensive tactics for their department. So I've been able to teach a lot at the police department. Now I mentioned I started training jiu-jitsu and MMA in 1998 and then earned my black belt in 2012. And I've continued to train that whole time. Like since 1998, I've never had a week that I didn't train several times that week, unless I've had some kind of surgery or something.
Sure.
Other than that, I've trained every single week in great rooms.
Consistency is the key, right?
That's it.
That's
it. Here in Vegas, we're pretty open. When I first moved here, there were some of the, hey, if you're on this team, you train only with this team. There's still a little bit of that probably in the Valley, but that's gone away. We're such a big fight town that a lot of guys will cross train at different gyms.
Sure.
And for me, that's been a positive experience. As long as you're respectful to, who you train under and stuff, I think there's a lot of positives to training around. I also get, for my no-gi time, some of my favorite time is with Casey Halstead out at 10th Planet, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Casey's a great coach. I actually had stayed away from there because I wasn't interested in doing a lot of rubber guard or stuff like that. I don't mind some of their half guard games really strong. Their leg lock game strong, but I just had this. I didn't like some of the names, just not for me,
Sure.
And then I found out Casey is actually just kind of like a fundamental fight functional jiu-jitsu dude. First, he came up in his gi jiu-jitsu under John Jock, and then he came up in the 10th Planet system straight under Eddie. But Casey's another resource here in Vegas that I utilize, and I'll go over and take classes from him. He's really accepting, really open, and really I've kind of, because I'm very respectful in general. I don't pick fights I don't need to have. I'm pretty well received throughout the whole Valley. I've been able to train in a number of the gyms here, and that's been kind of cool. But my homes are Extreme Couture MMA, and then Las Vegas Krav Maga and MMA renamed the academy the Las Vegas Combat Academy because they offer just a wide.
Okay.
They didn't want to be kind of like a Krav school.
Sure.
The owner there is a guy named Donovan Britt. Kind of interesting for Krav. He's one of the only black guys, I guess, who's like a high level Krav guy.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. I don't know why that is.
Wow.
But
That's interesting.
Yeah. Former military guy, and then really liked Krav and kickboxing. And then he's kind of grown into enjoying jiu-jitsu. And so he asked me if I would head up the program over there. So
nice.
I'm mainly at Couture's and at LVCA, but I refer cops out to gyms all around the Valley if they want to train. So that's a little bit about me.
That's awesome, man. That's see, I told everybody. in the beginting.
That's a lot.
It's good,
yeah,
dude.
I was like, I'm not saying I know I read it all, wrote stuff down, but I
Hey.
was like, yeah, I'm not saying all that.
Working in Vegas,
I'm gonna mess it up,
bro. It's, you know, there's some of the best police officers anywhere work
That's
for this
awesome.
agency. And, but really, I travel all over the nation teaching cops. With
I was going to say,
my
like, you know, I follow you on Instagram and,
Yeah.
and, you know, I know Coach Kuhn does and always seeing stuff. And with Jay Wadsworth, who's, you know, you're friends with, and RK, who we've both had on the show, and talked about Invictus, which shout out to Invictus. I see you got the shirt on there. The big announcement of a big seminar, I believe, coming up in June of 2022 in Connecticut, I think, or something, maybe. I don't know.
Is that out of Rob Magoo's place?
I'm not sure. Ari just posted it. I just happened to see it right before the show, right before we started talking. So I was like, oh, and then I saw you had the shirt on. I was like, well, I'll mention it.
What month did they say they're doing that?
Let me see here. I could tell you real quick. It was right on here.
Because I didn't know they had chosen a time, but Rob's going to bring me out that way in September.
Nice. I know what'll happen now because I'm looking for it. I won't be able to find it.
You won't be able to
find it.
Yeah.
No worries.
You know how
That's
social
cool.
media is. It just like instantaneously. But
you know, that's another example of great dudes, though, man. That you know, the Invictus guys just saw me online. They reached out to me. They were so they're so just like accepting and willing to build up other guys as well as themselves, right?
Well, utilize your knowledge.
Guys,
like utilize your knowledge. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm grateful for that, and I have paid attention. You know, I always tell guys I'm a better coach than athlete. I'm undefeated as a pro. I've never had a fight, so I'm undefeated.
Undefeated.
I've never tasted defeat in the octagon in the UFC yet, man. I'm undefeated.
You've gone the other hard route of everyday life.
But I'm coaching wise, I can hang coaching wise. I do very, very well. And that's just a gift. You know, I had that gift, and guys like Invictus give me an opportunity to share that. Jason Reps, who's BJJ cop. I got to make sure. I do it right.
I know. I know exactly. We know exactly.
The other guy tried to take his name.
Oh yes. I know who you're talking about. Yes. Yeah.
But so Jason's a stud. He's one of the Invictus guys, and Ari. And Ari's just, you know, like Ari and I probably talk once a month. He's always open. I can shoot him a text. He's just a super, super good dude.
That's one of, like, to go back, like what you said in the beginning, like, and I always tell people this, like circling yourself with good people, or, you know what I mean? Like, or you always have good people around you. And like, I think back, so when we had Ari on the show, we were very, very new to doing podcasting, and Ari was awesome because he had a lot of experience and it was great. And then still to this day, we can message him, whatever, we're friends on social media, and it's just like instantaneously he responds back. He would help in any way. And I'm like, yeah, that's the key, or not the key, but that's something a lot of people don't ever get either or understand from doing BJJ or being involved with this stuff. It's like, you get that type of family, like you get that extended thing with people, as long as you're surrounding yourself. Because I know there's bad people out there still doing what we do, but you're going to have that, you know? So,
yeah. And that's part of the mentality, right? That I think has been a positive growth in the sport. Because now remember, I started in 98. It was still very, very fringe.
Sure. Yeah.
The first gym I went to was a JKD gym. At the time, it was Matt Thornton's gym in Portland, Oregon. Straight Blast Gym headquarters worldwide. Matt, even back in the late 90s, was teaching a very conceptual, very principle-based manner of combatives, but we weren't wearing the gi at that time. And he still referred to the school, Straight Blast Gym. I guess Straight Blast is in reference to a JKD technique where you drive forward with punches and you drive your guy backwards. If you think about when Vitor Belfort beat Vanderlei in the UFC way back.
Just remember straight, that? Yeah.
Vitor was like 19 or something.
Yep.
And he blasted him across the ring. You remember that? And then he trapped him on the ring, and Vanderlei just got caught, and he kind of melted him. That is Straight Blast, I guess. because by the time I started going to the gym, they were already transitioning into jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, boxing, and then MMA. But we didn't wear gi. And that was my first couple of years training in Portland was no gi. The highest belt in the state was a blue belt. And that was Matt Thornton and Rob Follis. And Rob was one of my best friends. Miss him to this day. But all that early crew up in Portland, I mean, you had several of the guys from Ultimate Fighter 1 training out of that gym. Nate Quarry, those early UFC guys,
early fighters
trained out of those circles in the Pacific Northwest. And then Randy, Dan Henderson, Matt Lindland, all those guys started initially with that main Straight Blast gym location, and then they split to Quest.
Okay.
And Rob went with them.
Okay.
And then, but the reason I'm talking about that is in those early days, it was very territorial. They were originally a Hickson gym, jiu-jitsu wise, Straight Blast was. And I was not in the room for these meetings, so this is how I understood it took place. It could have happened a little bit different. So I'm going to put that caveat on this.
Sure.
But we made a switch from Hickson to Hegan when Randy started training for the UFC. And everyone asked, well, why the affiliation switch? Because back then affiliation was like, oh my goodness, like we don't talk to guys from other teams.
Yeah, right.
Can't train anywhere.
You don't cross train.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
And although Matt never preached that to us, we were open to train where we wanted to, but certainly we knew there was this undertone.
Sure.
And they said that Hickson had said that you can't train people who are going to fight Brazilians. And Hegan said it's going to eventually happen. I don't care. And that was what we were told. The difference was, as I remember it, and somebody else who was in the room when those conversations happened may have better clarification. But thinking back, late 90s, we made this switch over to Hegan. And then the big influencer there was Chris Howder. Chris Howder was our link to Hegan.
No.
And so Chris would come up to Portland a couple times a year, train with all of us. Chris actually awarded me my blue belt, and he awarded me the first stripe on my black belt.
Oh, awesome.
And
very cool.
Chris and I stay tight to this day.
Nice.
We'll message each other, send each other a little thing or like something from one another. And Chris Howder to this day is a positive influence on me.
Nice.
Matt Thornton's a positive, all these guys. But they were my early coaching mentors.
Sure.
And that really made a difference for me. Those guys were intentionally good at coaching. They had systems they would use, and I still use some of those to this day. So
did that so when you were younger and you went on the mission trip, did that project you to want to become in law enforcement at all, or was that something you always wanted to do?
Yeah, that was something that I kind of always wanted to do. Culturally, my family was active in the faith. My dad had gone. My older brother had not gone. He had decided not to, although he says he regrets that to this day. I don't know. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu too. He's a straight savage. Good dude. Really hard-nosed, tough dude. But I wanted to do it. My dad had always kind of been the example, and I thought, that'll be a good 2 years. And I thought, if nothing else, I'm going to go, because on those trips, man, we don't work. You spend money you already saved up.
Sure.
Or your family helps pay. You don't have a job. You're full-time in the service of others. You don't date. At 19 to 21, I didn't go on a single date.
Wow.
With a female. I didn't call females. I didn't pursue females. I focused on that aspect of my life and serving other people, and really on serving other people. Certainly sharing the gospel is part of it, but like if someone didn't want to talk to us, but they wanted me to mow the lawn, I'd mow the lawn. If someone just wanted somebody to read scripture with generally and just talk about life, I'd go over and do that. Like there was no expectation, at least where I served and people I served with. I'm
sure.
certain people ruin anything you do and have different motives.
Right. Yeah.
But
always.
For me, it was very good. You would think that it might make you more you would think it might make you more judgmental of people not like you, or make you, but the actual goal when they send you is they tell you, hey, learn to love people and learn to love them as they are. And you can't change them. You can share stuff with them if they want it shared, and go out and serve other people. And certainly there's guys who do even that wrong, but
sure, right.
But the ones who are doing it right are benefiting a lot. And so, I made the commitment to go. It's a little nerve wracking because you're committing a lot. You don't go to college. That's what you do. I didn't have a TV. You don't watch TV. You don't go to the movies. You don't go dancing. You don't play regular radio stations. You don't do any of that for 2 years. Not one, not a month, not a 2-month trip to go build a house for someone in South America. It's they'll send you to, my son went to Peru. He had to go to Peru. He didn't know Spanish. He had to learn Spanish. And he slept on what the Peruvian people sleep on. And he lived among the Peruvian people for 2 years. And he learned to love people from a whole different country with a whole different culture. My daughter went to Portugal. She learned Portuguese. She married a kid from Brazil who's a member of the church. So, it's
awesome.
thing.
Like I tell people, so my wife,
it's not bad.
No, my wife's been on them, and she's done the short ones. She's been short mission trips, and help.
Those are cool too. I wasn't meaning to disparage.
No. Because I
was just saying that it's pretty. It's 2 years.
That's what I told her. So
months.
I was telling her, she was asking who we were talking to, and I told her, and I said, "Man, he did a 2-year mission trip," and she was like, her instant reaction was like, 2 years, and I was like, "Yeah, I know."
So I have a son that is a D1 athlete. And,
nice.
He plays baseball, and the other sports are pretty forgiving of missions for these young men because they come back bigger and stronger.
Sure.
So a lot of the football coaches will be like, yeah, go ahead and go away and then have 4 years, and you're 20 years old. You're 21 years old. You're a freshman, but you got your man body.
Right. You're going to be a man.
So
line up. Sure. Right.
They do the same, but baseball's never come around. And the baseball coaches actually tell these guys, we don't know if you can come back and play because it's such a skill sport, and time away from the sport doesn't necessarily make you better.
Right.
So he was being recruited. He decides he wants to go. Every school, even the LDS schools, drop him. Just stop.
Wow, really?
Like, no more offers. Withdrew. He had a couple of tentative offers, right? Withdrawn, gone.
Really? And, that's awful.
And he had to really decide what he wanted to do. And I said, hey, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but how did you feel before the baseball coaches weren't loving you? And he says, well, I felt like I should go. And I said, well, are you going to let those guys change what you should or shouldn't do?
Sure.
And I go, I think things generally work out if you do what you know you should do. And if you feel like you should go. Now, he's got brothers who have gone. He's got a brother who hasn't gone. So he doesn't have to go. It's his choice. But I said, don't ever make your choices based on pressure from some other people that may cool on you anyway. Like if you know in your heart you should go do this thing, and you feel that like you prayed, meditated, whatever you want to say. I don't care what you use as something to help guide your life. It doesn't have to be what I use. But if you're being directed to do something and it's not negative, and then some dude not really affiliated with you starts, poo-pooing on that, you're going to have a long life if you get dissuaded because somebody gives you a little opposition.
100%.
So I said, do your thing. So then he went out and he did it, right? So then COVID hits and all these countries send these kids home. So at COVID,
wow.
This is the first time in my adult life that my church didn't have missionaries out. It's part of our culture.
So
all of them came home when COVID first came out because they were worried about them getting stuck in other countries, and we didn't know how bad COVID was. And so everybody came home. When he gets home, they all start recruiting him again. And then the church tells him, hey, they release him. So he could stay home and be done or go back out and finish his 2 years. But he didn't do 2 years. He did like 6 months.
Okay.
He comes home. So then he has to decide again. And we talked again. And I said, hey, buddy, you got to decide what you think is right. So he goes back out and they all drop him again. And then he came home, and a school he had really wanted, he just connected with that staff who had cooled off on him all the way and moved on. And in fact, told him, hey, we moved on, like you're not part of the plan. Reverse course. When he got home, he went up there and had a good workout with them. Well, he went up there and had a crap workout with them like 3 days after he got home. And they said, yeah, we've really moved on. And then I said, hey, don't give up.
Let's go.
And they had a showcase a month later, and he went down to Extreme Couture and worked out with our strength and conditioning guys, got himself in shape,
Nice.
went back up, and then killed it. And he's up at that school now playing baseball, and that was the one he always wanted.
Good for him, man.
You know, kind of a little life lesson there.
Yeah.
Where, you know, stay at it.
Yeah.
Do what you know is right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And and a great thing that you really pointed out is that if it's in your heart, like, don't be dissuaded when you have naysayers telling you, because it's usually the naysayers are not really connected to you. A lot of times they don't really know you. They don't know your internal, like your feelings or all that. And I always say, and I do a social media platform where it's called On His Guard. So it's more of, you know, overcoming your mind telling you that you can't do something, and listening to your internal heart, like your spirit, like your inside, like, you know. And so I've done that for a while now, and I try to coach and teach and talk all the time about that kind of stuff. I teach my own kids this same exact thing. You know, I'm like, don't listen to the bad stuff, you know, like all this noise all the time. I was like, you got to really, you know, pray and focus on what's inside you, like really your true heart, you know. So yeah. That's awesome.
So my folks taught me two things when I was young that's kind of on that topic, and we did it from a particular religious standpoint, but it could be from any standpoint.
Sure.
I think these are eternal truths no matter where they come from. And one truth is that everyone has struggle, and everyone has hard things, and you grow through struggle. And struggle is actually, if there is a creator, then part of that blueprint for us as human beings was that we would have struggle in our lives, and that comes to everyone. So no matter how you ascribe that to be the case, we can certainly look at that and easily see evidence that's true. Everyone's going to have struggle.
Sure. Yeah.
Then my parents said the saving grace of that, and they said, you should, if you're squared away, you should accept that you're going to have struggle, and you should embrace it. And that didn't sound too cool to me when I was younger. I was like, really? And
it still doesn't sound cool.
It's like, that sounds like kind of crappy.
That's crappy
and
garbage.
They were like, here's the saving grace. And I'm like, okay, good. We're going to have a saving grace. They said the saving grace is that same person, because they believe it is by design. They said that same God that said struggle is the way, he also is giving you agency. And so you get to choose what you want to do. And you get to choose, you don't always get to choose what happens to you, but you can choose what it means and also how you're going to respond to it. And so they said agency, the ability to choose, is the greatest gift you've ever been given. And you shouldn't take it away from other people. You should respect it. It's something, in their minds, God holds sacred. In my mind as well. But if someone doesn't believe in that, that's fine. You could easily say, no matter where you think it's from, that everyone has struggle and that everyone has the ability to choose. So we don't always get to choose the struggle, but we can choose what it means, how we're going to react, whether it kicks our butt or not. We can choose those things.
Sure.
Unless there's mental illness or something outlined as a general rule. So I got taught that, and I eventually bought into it and actually believed it and had been teaching it to my kids. And then I saw it put another way that I found very, very, very effective. And that's the idea of choose your heart. And so if you think of any situation, easy as a myth. Being fit is hard because I've got to work out regularly. I've got to monitor what I eat. I've got to get a certain amount of sleep. You know, to be fit, physically fit is hard. I'm getting older. I wake up sometimes injured. Like, I'm pretty sure I was relaxing while asleep, but somehow I hurt myself. So, you know, it's not getting easier to be fit.
I don't mean to laugh,
However,
but I know what you mean.
However, so being fit is hard, but being obese is hard.
Yeah.
So you got to choose your hard. There's not an easy.
Yeah. Right.
There's
Exactly.
not an easy. And there's no stay the same. You're either fit or you're not. And you're either doing things to be fit and make little gains, or you're not. And you can't maintain. That's a myth. Easy is a myth. Hard is true, and choice is hard. So I choose my hard. Another example might be being financially disciplined is hard. I can't just buy anything I want. I've got to live on a budget.
Sure.
I've got to make sure that I'm accounting for my expenses. Well, being broke's hard. So you got to choose your hard.
Yeah.
There's no easy. Easy's a myth, and easy's bad for you. In fact, in situations where we see easy, where we see people who never have, if the worst thing that could ever happen to a kid, or, well, it's not the worst thing. There's other bad things, but a bad blueprint would be, hey, you never have to worry about anything. You're never going to have any disappointment. And I'm going to pay for everything your whole life. You never have to achieve any. That'd be horrendous.
Oh, it'd be
that
awful.
Kid would have no growth. It'd be a mess. He'd hate himself, probably kill himself. He'd be a doper. It's a recipe for disaster.
Sure.
If you don't have to choose your hard. So financially is another example. Relationships. You know, I've been married over 30 years. Deeply love my wife. Probably the best thing I've ever done is be able to find her and then have her accept me. And then,
sure.
You know, but that takes effort, right?
Yeah. Right. It's work, and it's right.
It's work. It's positive work, but it's work.
Sure. Exactly.
Being divorced is hard. So there's no easy. It's,
right.
You're going to have one or the other. And I don't mean if listeners listen to this and they've been divorced, maybe that was a hard decision that was a good one and a positive one. I'm not saying you shouldn't be divorced, but I'm saying that would be a hard decision, even if it were the right one, to say, okay, well, this relationship's over. To be healthy, I need to go somewhere else. Well, that's a hard choice, but it's always hard. There's never easy. I always tell cops, finding time and money to train is hard. Being in a backyard at 3 a.m. in a fight with a guy by yourself is hard. You got to choose your hard. Finding time to train is hard. Being on the front page of the news because you're incompetent at your job and now you've made a horrible mistake is hard. As a police officer, you got to choose your hard. I don't have an easy way for you to be great at being a police officer. It takes hard work. So that is a philosophy that I was taught from the time I was little is struggle's good. It's on purpose. It's by design. It's how we grow. And your saving grace is you have the ability to choose what your struggle is going to be. And so then that gives you accountability and you can own it. It's not anybody else's crap. My crap is my crap. I chose it. In the vast majority of cases, I choose. So that's something that I use.
That's awesome. That's such great information. And everyone out there, honestly, if you have an opportunity, you need to write that down because it's a great thing. And Coach Chad has heard me talk about this before that. So I do that a lot. Like I always tell people, like, if something's going bad, it's like, well, what were your choices to lead up to that? Like, did you choose to be, and you chose that direction. So you have to own it. So keep yourself accountable and keep moving right. Or, you know, you can tap into someone and try to get help to do something else and maybe make a different decision. You know what I mean? And
even in the case where, like, let's say sexual assault, or let's say something like that, where you didn't do anything wrong. You are not part of the problem.
Sure.
Well, now it's a choice of what do I do with this
going forward
challenging thing? Do I go and get help? Do I go and talk to someone, get the appropriate help, heal myself through? And that's going to be a hard process.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine. Sure.
Hide from it. And you know, I'm not for a second suggesting a sexual assault victim bears any responsibility for that hardship in their life.
Oh,
or
sure.
Even that some kind of creator wanted them to experience that. Number two, the ability to make choices, agency can be misused horribly, and I could inflict on somebody else with my ability to choose a hardship that they don't deserve, nor did they ask for, nor did they choose. But I still will not leave the formula of, now that this has happened and it's a reality, I believe you're capable of being able to overcome those hardships potentially. And certainly I would not sit in judgment of someone who's had a horrific hardship. I would just say, I know people overcome these things. All of us have people in our lives who have been victimized in one way or another, and it could be emotionally, it could be physically, it could be in a business transaction.
Sure. Yeah.
All of us have people who, if you even examine their choices, they didn't deserve or earn what happened to them.
Right.
But once again, we all have that. So it's not, one of the things I remind myself, is that stuff is potentially going to happen. And I still have to work my way through whatever comes my way. And sometimes I might not be strong enough to do it alone. I might need a whole host of support or some help or some kind of therapy or whatever the case might be. I've never had to utilize that per se, but certainly that's a viable option. So
yeah, 100%. Sort of said like this: all the events in your life will not define you, but your reaction to those events will be what can define you.
That's the key.
So
there's no doubt, guys.
That's really, and that's how I always approach things, how I teach people. I've said it, before and stuff. So do you think, I'm sure BJJ is a huge asset for things like this, for overcoming things and believing in yourself and stuff like that. Did that, Mr. Lyman, did it attract you in that way too? Like when you first started training, I know it was more in the LEO, but did you see that as you kept going, even though, because you have started so long ago?
Yeah, not at first. And
sure.
I actually hated it at first.
What made you stick with it?
It was a different time, man. We would show up and hit each other with sticks, and we were kneeing each other in the groin, and we were doing all kinds of stupidness back in the day, and going really, really hard all the time. It was pure lunacy. But to your point, I started to recognize and see that it was a very positive environment. And what was positive about it is, I always tell people, a jiu-jitsu mat that's led by a good leader, a training area that's led by a good leader, is one of the best places on the planet and one of the purest places on the planet. What I mean by that is, when we go on that mat, we don't care who you voted for. We don't care what your political party is.
Not at all.
We don't care what your sexual orientation is, or how you feel about gender issues, or I don't care about any of that stuff.
Sure.
I don't care about your ethnicity.
It doesn't even come up, right?
Race, it doesn't even come up. Your religion, none of that matters. We're going to get on this mat together. And as a unified people, however many of us show up that day, we're going to go through a struggle, and we're going to choose to embrace it, and we're going to choose to go through that experience together. And I don't care if you finish first that day or you finish last. I care that you participate and that you are in there with your teammates. And it teaches you a massive amount of stuff. I constantly tell people it's not a religion. It shouldn't be looked at as such, but it will teach you everything worthwhile and reinforce that you could learn from either whatever your perspective is. It for me, it confirms spiritual things, I believe. I can test those. You can read about a principle or a concept or an idea like struggle, and you can read about it and then get a cool shirt that says, never quit or whatever the crap you want to do.
Right.
Sure. Right.
Well, you get in a good hard training session, you start thinking about not quitting. And I'm going to stay in this, and I'm going to finish this. You get into, I tell cops all the time, cops who are in shape, I'll show up to a call where the officers had to struggle to get someone into custody. And the officer's lapel might be off, and his shirt's half untucked, his medium shirt's all tailored. He's a CrossFit king of the department. Him and his partner are both eating good and bringing their lunches.
Right.
Sure.
In good shape, and medium uniform, tailored shirts. And I'll show up and they're out of breath, and the guy is handcuffed over on the curb, and I'll say, what happened? They'll go, oh, he's really strong. Must be the dope. It must be the drugs. Well, they've done study after study shows you don't get strength from narcotics. You might not feel pain, or you might not feel or be able to think rationally. So then you actually start doing what your body's capable of. Their mind's not stopping them because they're doped up. And so they actually do things that you could do or I could do if we didn't stop ourselves from doing them.
Sure.
And so, but they'll say, oh, the guy's really strong. It's the dope. It's the meth or whatever. And I'll look over at the guy and I'll say, you know, that dude doesn't work out. That dude sleeps probably behind one of these buildings. He's got an open sore. I don't think he's eating well. He's certainly not sleeping well. He's on dope. If that's the way to be strong, why don't you do that?
Yeah.
Why don't you just start taking meth and start eating crap and start staying up all night? If that's the way to be strong, and they'll laugh and they'll go, what are you talking about, Chad? And I'll say, that dude's not strong. He's not strong at all. But you can't replicate humans trying to push you around. You need to come to the mat room.
You got to do it.
You come train.
Yeah.
And jiu-jitsu will give you that as well. Jiu-jitsu and MMA will give you a real indication of what it means to be strong. And I don't mean big like a bodybuilder. And I don't even mean lifts. I'll do high repetition, body weight exercises and some high repetition weight work. I don't even lift. I don't know what I could bench right now. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I know I can go 500 rounds.
Sure. It's so awesome that you say that, because so many guys, we talk about this at the gym all the time, and we have a lot of guys that work out and stuff, but everyone's like, I don't really know how much I can do. Like, it's never been a thing. Like, it's been like, I just do a lot of this to be strong, to get cardio, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not out here, oh, I can bench 500 pounds. Like, no one ever talks about like, hey, how much can you bench? Like, that stuff's over.
On those mats, you start figuring out what real strength is.
Right? Real strength.
Yeah.
And, real strength. And I tell my young cops all the time, the reason that guy feels strong to you is you think you can get strong by grabbing a kettlebell, which fitness is important. You can,
right,
to a certain level.
Yeah,
and I'm an advocate of training. Fitness is important. But if you're going to fight humans, or you want to really know what strong is, you got to get on a mat. You got to, and not just striking. I mean, you got to get ground out on, we're pushing each other up against an object and hitting each other. We're taking each other down, back up. That's when you're going to find out what strength is, and strength in a lot of ways. Strength and resolve inside of you as a person. I've been training now so long and going through stuff so long. I had a particular time in my policing career where I'll be very general with this because this isn't my current agency, and some of these people still work in areas above me. But I had some supervisors who got offended at me and upset, and it was something that I'd done, and I admitted to doing it, and they ascribed motive to it, which was not my motive. And I was in a particular unit, and this person was over that unit, even though he had achieved rank, but he had never served in our unit. And it wasn't SWAT, but it was a different unit. And this guy says to me, I'm really mad at you for this thing, and I'm gonna put in a formal complaint. And I said, that's fine. It's well within your rights, no problem. Like I couldn't tell him not to, but
Sure, right.
I didn't understand why he was telling me that, I guess. He was telling me through the sergeant, and then he says, and they want you to leave the unit. And I go, well, you tell them that I'm not leaving because I know my rights. We have rights at our department. We have a contract.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, you can ding me, but I'm not leaving. You can't do both. That's double dipping. So tell them I'm not leaving. He goes, man, they're not going to be happy. I said, I don't really care about that. I'm not unhappy, but
Sure. Right.
like, so he does that. And then these guys try to put pressure on me for about 6 or 7 months with various things they thought would make me quit, I guess.
Wow.
And
Like
they
jobs?
have no idea what's inside of me. I was like,
Yeah.
I can do this standing on my head. You guys think this is hard? This is not hard. Like, I could care less. I remember I'd been training for about 6 years when I moved to Vegas Metro in 2004. And we had a 6-month academy. In week 5, I tore my ACL on my right knee at the academy. There's another example, strength.
Yeah.
Talking about strength from training, right? So I tear my ACL during the academy, during activity. It's completely torn. I need surgery, but my doctor says, I tell my doctor, this time I'm a young married. I've got several kids. We've just come from Portland. We've moved to Vegas. The department, because they're worried about liability, wants me to have surgery and then rehab it and then start a new academy. But that's going to pause my seniority. It's going to pause my natural raises in steps in the pay scale, which we had charted very carefully, being a young family and moving. I originally took a pay cut going from Portland to Vegas, but I knew I would catch up. And also I was concerned that if I got cut with that major of a surgery and then tried to rehab and then started running 5-6 miles on pavement again, that the knee wouldn't hold up. It's already torn. If I can brace it up, let me finish the academy was my plan.
And then get surgery.
Build training as a rookie, and then I'll go get cut.
Yeah.
And the department lets me continue on probation and doesn't penalize me because I proved myself. That was my idea, right? But the department's best interest, they felt like, was for me to voluntarily come out of the academy and then roll into the next one and start over. So they put a lot of pressure on me. I can remember I had to meet with what we call the TAC officer, who's still on the department. This dude's a good dude. He stood by me. We had a sergeant who's now retired and a lieutenant from the academy that met with me and did a tape recorded interview. And this goes back to the strength that I gained from. And at this point, I'm in my 30s, late 30s. I'm a dad. I've been married a bunch of years. There's a lot of things that contribute to my intestinal fortitude, plus what I already bring. I mean, I'm naturally this way.
Sure.
I've always been optimistic. I've always felt like I could win. I've always been up to fight if I have to fight. You know, that's always been in me. But it got fine-tuned by training jiu-jitsu and MMA to a level. And so I'm in the academy, torn ACL, having swelling issues with the knee, but I'm still performing. So they have this meeting. They say, hey, you really need to quit and roll back. Hey, with due respect, I don't. You sent me to a doctor, and that doctor said I could finish, and it's up to me, and I'm going to finish. And that's the department doctor, because I got hurt at work. Don't lose sight of the fact I didn't get hurt on my weekend. I got hurt here. You guys broke me. You can't fire me now that you broke me. Like, there's laws against this.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not your usual recruit that's 21 years old. And, you know, I'm a grown man. I got a family. I got responsibilities. And I can remember they said, we're concerned you won't be able to complete the academy, and we'll flunk you if you don't complete the physical requirements. And I said, I'm going to tell you something right now. I know you think your police academy is hard, and I'm not trying to disrespect you or your academy, but I could do this standing on my head. I go through hard things every week voluntarily. I paid money to do hard crap for years in a jiu-jitsu gym. At this point, I wasn't coaching, so I was still paying dues.
You're still paying dues, sure.
I pay money for dudes to kick my butt. There's nothing you can do to me. I'm still going to the academy and training on my off days and in the evening once a week while in the academy. I said, there's nothing you can do to me that will make me want to quit. Like you do whatever you want. I said, you have people sitting in that room out there who are soft, and I'm not judging them. They're young people. I don't know why they're soft. I don't know what their deal is. I will whoop half the people in that room on one leg right now. And I'll whip half your staff. I'm not going to quit. So they say, well, if you can't physically perform, we're going to fire you. I said, okay, well, let's see. So I never finished last in anything. I finished all the runs. I finished all the physical requirements for the academy on one leg, finished field training. And then they finally, at that point, I earned their trust. And they're like, yeah, just go ahead and go get it fixed, please. So I went about a year on a.
They were like, hey, get out of here. We don't want to see you.
Torn ACL. I went about a year total on a torn ACL because of the benefit of jiu-jitsu, the benefit of MMA, the benefit of regular training. We are used to hard things. There's a value in that. That value can extend to the rest of your life.
Oh, 100%. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that quote you said earlier, Terry, about how we react to things is jujitsu too, right?
100%. Yeah.
100. I mean, how we react to what's being done to us or what we're attacking with. It's pretty spot on.
So, and that's a key difference between a lot of your self-defense arts,
right?
Where you see screaming and yelling and hard, fast,
right?
This and that. There's no thought. There's no calm. There's no decision making.
Right.
Jiu-jitsu teaches you to be calm when you're in trouble. It teaches you to find solutions to problems, and those solutions are not just going berserk and going harder per se. Sometimes it's slowing down. Sometimes it's, hey, we explode when it's time, but it's a thinking man and woman's game, and it's an emotionally under control man and woman's game. I've told cops for years, if doing jiu-jitsu and MMA has made violence a tool that I feel like is more appropriate when I wield it or use it, because when I was a civilian, I was still not afraid to fight. I came into this profession willing to fist fight someone if I had to. But my prior fights were as a young person. I hadn't had a fight after high school in the street, but I had through high school. I grew up in an area where we got in fist fights, and I was part of a culture.
Sure.
And if you didn't, you got picked on. And so I fought back, and my brother fought back before me, and that was part of what we did. The gal I'm married to, her brother is to this day one of my best friends. He happens to be a cop now too. First time he ever got exposed to a fight was in a car with me and another dude. Pulled over and fought the dudes in another car. He sat in the car. He was like 15 at the time. He was like, holy crap, we're going to fight these dudes in the McDonald's parking lot. We beat sparks off those fools. We couldn't fight, neither could they. And then we all drove. So, but that's how I grew up. And so
sure.
The difference in jiu-jitsu, though, what it's given me over the years is we go to jiu-jitsu, and I'll include MMA as well, because I think having defense against strikes is important, and introducing
100%
super important. Having a mixed approach. We do this stuff. We're not mad at each other, and we're trying to finish each other and get each other in bad positions, dominate each other. And so as a civilian, civilians fight for two reasons. I'm either angry or I'm scared. And if you fight because you're angry, it's never justified. Just as a rough idea for those people listening, you can't fight because you're frustrated or pissed off or mad and have it be justified. But if I can articulate a reasonable fear that if I don't defend myself, something bad's going to happen to me, well, then I can use force or violence to defend myself or someone else. If I don't react, this person's going to harm another person, something like that. Cops are the same way, right? So when I train on the level I've trained at for so long, I'm no longer emotional on calls for service. I'm not. Someone takes a swing at me, it's not like the biggest insult in the world. I could care less. I've been punched 2,700 times. I don't know how many times I've been punched. I can't even
Yeah.
count how many times I've been punched, choked, taken down. Get in line, dude. Like I paid money for years for people to do that crap to me. You think it's going to make me think you deserve to be hit after? So when I handcuff guys, it's over. It's done. When I get a guy, a dominant position on a guy, I'm not out of control. I'm calmly giving them direction. Now, I don't advocate that because I think it's, oh, poor guy who got punched. But I do think right is right and wrong is wrong. I don't have any love in my heart for people who would attack other people, whether they're police officers or not.
Sure.
So if you're a person out there that physically resists the police, I'm not training so you could be safer fighting me.
Right, exactly.
But the cool byproduct that happens by me being well trained is you are safer. But that's not why I started training. I didn't start training because I'm like, oh man, these people are going to try to hurt me and I've got to have the right response, which I don't like jiu-jitsu companies that take that slant and go, oh, we're going to help the cops help the guy who's trying to beat him up. I don't care about the dude trying to beat him up. Like, I've got an idea. Don't attack police officers.
Yeah.
Don't attack other
Pretty
humans,
simple.
period.
Yeah.
Right,
That would be a
exactly.
cool idea.
Right.
Like, don't attack your neighbor. Don't attack somebody because you think they voted wrong.
Sure.
Don't attack, and that's on both sides. That's
Right.
not-
No,
for sure.
I understand 100% what you're saying.
but I got a cool idea. Don't use violence against other humans, and you probably won't have to worry about getting beat up. But having said that, a well-trained police officer is going to make better decisions. He's going to dominate, and that is going to lead to lesser force and lesser injuries for everybody. And I think that's hugely positive. And police use of force is also a very complicated thing. It's not always good versus bad.
Sure.
Certainly there's mentally ill people who don't realize the threat they're presenting, who certainly deserve to have a humane way of dealing with them, even if they become violent or
Sure.
out of control. Even a drug addict, there could be a number of things driving that person's addiction, things that I don't know. So they're not deserving of a beat down because they're a drug addict and they resist the police or whatever the case may be. They may have horrific childhood things that they coped with that by taking narcotics. I don't know. It might be that they just started partying and got hooked. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, sure.
It doesn't matter. But if I can deal with them in a safer, more humane way, I'm on board for that. That's a good thing too. And jiu-jitsu gives us that, or MMA. I would say MMA even more than jiu-jitsu, or a mixed approach.
A mixed approach. Yeah, I was gonna say you have
Yeah.
like the best of both worlds because you trained for so long in both versus only, and now I think it's awesome. I'm sure you'd probably agree that more police officers and LEOs or frontline responders and whatnot throughout the entire country are seeing more jiu-jitsu being a good thing for them.
More than ever, right?
More than ever, right?
The young guys who train still will complain about all the guys who don't train, and I'm like, I have no idea, youngsters.
I was gonna say,
Give it a decade, I've been doing this since the late 90s. In the late 90s, it was fringe for anybody to train regularly. And then, you move into the 2000s.
Sure.
There were many years when I was the only cop in the room.
I was going to ask you, were they like, you're crazy? Like, this isn't ever going to be like a thing for police officers?
There was some resistance and for a lot of years, right? Well, now, fast forward, we've been making a dent. And if you really get away from, and I even tell this to the jiu-jitsu guys, get away from like the Invictus guys and guys who love jiu-jitsu. They'll say, well, I'm trying to convince police departments that jiu-jitsu is good. And I'll say, it's a little bit of a losing argument, because if guys have to choose their favorite martial art, well, then the guy who signs the check is going to win that argument. So if the chief is a Krav guy, or he's a Taekwondo guy, or an Aikido guy, pressure point guy, I don't want to get in a fight over pressure points or jiu-jitsu. Instead, what I say is, well, what does our job require? If you think of a police use of force, it's not weapons related, because weapons changes everything. The guy's empty hand. He doesn't want to go in handcuffs, or a woman, either one. and they're just physically resisting and they're struggling to not be handcuffed. What skill set is most important? And what do we do with everyone who resists us as cops? And the answer is we handcuff them. And where do we handcuff them? Usually on the ground or against a wall or an object. And where do their hands go? They go behind their back. So for me to achieve both arms behind the back in a dominant position requires a grappling skill set, period. So if that comes from wrestling, from judo, from jiu-jitsu,
whatever,
I don't care. I'm not married to any of them. If you find me another way to control another human being, other than those, I'll adopt it and I'll train in it because I'm training for what the job requires. I don't get to choose a martial art that I love,
sure,
or play favorites. What does a job require? And it requires a well-rounded skill set that is grappling heavy. You got to be grappling heavy because for a cop, two things are vital on every call. Number one is I don't want to end up on bottom. I don't want to be under people in a street altercation where it makes it hard for me to even access my own tools that might help me if there's multiple opponents or an armed opponent, something like that.
Sure.
I can't be under my opponent. And then the second thing is I've got to have the ability to physically control them if they don't want to be handcuffed, and I've got to work their arms behind their back. And there is nothing other than jiu-jitsu.
Wrist locks.
Huh?
Wrist locks. Wrist locks all day.
Oh my goodness. That's part of jiu-jitsu, okay? And it's dirty. That dude start moving because of wrist locks, just so you know.
What's that?
That dudes get angry because of wrist locks and start moving around. They're like, what are you doing to me? I was going to cooperate.
Well, see, that's the thing. And even watching, I've tactical, like shooting and stuff like that. I've had training in that, but not, like stuff that you've done, Mr. Lyman. And I see watching your videos, always watching them. And I always think you control them to keep them in a stable position and not to where they want to fight you, or they're not in a position to want to be able to combat back to you, which I think is vital. And a lot of people don't always understand that, to where if you do something a little bit too far, you can engage pain to them that they're going to react to. And just watching your videos, I can see that you don't do that. Like your way of teaching and what you've done, in the seminars, let's say, because I know you post a lot of stuff and I watch those because I'm a nerd like that. And I like to watch everyone doing things. So, but like a wrist lock, I could see, like, I know we're joking, I love wrist locks too, because I'm older. Like I'm going to be 45 and wrist locks are cool when I'm going to roll against a 22-year-old. And I'm like, I'm just going to wrist lock you because you're going 100 miles an hour and I'm not. But in your case, I could see 100% like, I'm not going to wrist lock him and get out of control here and whatnot.
So position and pressure are some of the hallmarks of what we do. We do create a lot of leverage at times, and at times that can be uncomfortable for the person that's being applied to. And,
sure.
But we don't have anything in our system that's pain compliance based. I've got a little bit of a problem. I wouldn't say morally, it's not that strong, but a little bit of an ethical dilemma with the idea of pain compliance as a go-to. Now, if something gives me leverage and pressure and immobilize my bad guy and it's uncomfortable and he's struggling, that's pretty much on him. If he weren't doing that, I wouldn't be doing whatever I'm doing to him.
Sure.
Yeah.
However, I got away from this idea because I've had to testify in court multiple times on uses of force and defended uses of force and been deposed and all that. And court didn't make me this way. It more was kind of how I think personally. And I have a real problem with anything that says, if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm going to personally inflict pain on you to make you comply with my request, even though you're not a threat to me. And I've got a bit of a problem with that. Now, I don't have a problem with, let's say your arm is kind of underneath your body and the other arm's behind your back. And you won't give me this arm that's under your body. I don't have a problem prying that arm out. And if at some point that's uncomfortable, well, that's you not giving
And
me.
that's on you.
I'm
Yeah.
not inflicting the pain on purpose. And the pain can be relieved by you just placing your hands behind your back. So I could complete handcuffing. But we purposefully, even though pain compliance, I would not say it's completely ineffective. It certainly is against certain people. And also there's such a massive difference between training pain compliance measures that only hurt. And I'm not talking about wrist locks now. I'm talking about pushing on the mandible.
Sure. Right.
Yeah.
That academies will teach, or these knuckles in their ear and stuff. That crap doesn't feel good in training, and everyone wants it to stop, so they just obey. When you're under adrenaline, you're fighting. Dudes don't even, they really don't care you're pressing on their head. They can't even tell you're.
I was gonna say they don't even feel it at that point because adrenaline.
Everybody who complies, you shouldn't be doing that to them because they're already compliant people.
Right.
Sure.
So we don't have anything in the system, law enforcement wise, where we have stuff that it might be uncomfortable. A wrist weave, a 2-on-1, different forms of control to the ground. Someone could say, man, that hurt. That was uncomfortable. If that happens, it happens, but we're not intentionally causing pain. And we really hit that. And that is more a thing where I don't want to go on a stand and be looking at a jury of my peers and go, well, Mr. Smith didn't do what I wanted him to do, so I inflicted pain on him till he would listen to me. I don't even do that to my own kids.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't think I'm going to do it to, some random person. Just going to inflict pain on you.
Right.
Now, once again, I'll go knee on top because it offers a ton of control and it limits your movement, and I can begin to slow things down and control you and begin to communicate with you. Is knee on top uncomfortable? It is, but that's not the goal. That's not what I'm trying to achieve.
Sure.
When I achieve that knee on top.
When did you were you approached to start teaching and teaching others in combative training, MMA and jiu-jitsu? Or did you just go, I see a need for this?
So both. I got asked to start teaching jiu-jitsu here in Vegas when I was a blue belt on a team that's pretty deep. It was very surprising. So that was how they liked how I taught in a principle-based manner. And so I got asked to do that. And then for the combatives, I just didn't feel like there was good training. And then cops started asking me, hey, how would we do this? How would we do this? That was about in 2006. And then I started teaching a lot in about 2010. I was teaching a lot of jiu-jitsu from 06 to 2010. I was teaching a lot, jiu-jitsu, MMA. That kind of became my side gig. And then started teaching cops more and more 2010. Then in 2012, started traveling a bit. And then now we have a full system. My vision as I near the end here, I feel like I'm running out of time because I know there's a window that I can be on the mats and be really productive. And I still am, but I know there's a window. It's going to close at some point. My vision is to we now have a PJJ, police jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Is the system for law enforcement. We have foundations level, and then we have 5 levels. Similar to jiu-jitsu, I don't give belts, but we do give pins because some departments use my system as their defensive tactics. And they'll let guys wear a uniform pin.
Oh, nice.
To denote where they're at in the system.
Nice.
And it's designed to take a guy for his whole career and let him train his whole career. Very similar to jiu-jitsu. It's level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then it's white, blue, purple, brown, black for the levels. But police jiu-jitsu encompasses not just Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but striking defense, team tactics, de-escalation, weapons, empty hand, ground top, ground bottom, all those things. And we actually have, like I said, a foundations level, and then all the levels 1 through 5, and each one has an information packet on that level. It's got all the principles and concepts for that level. It's got suggested techniques that someone could train or learn, but certainly they don't have to be exactly those techniques. Sure. As long as you're not violating principles or concepts. And then it has a game plan that individual officers in the program could fill out. So if I was a level 1 guy, I get a level 1 game plan. And for example, it'll say, I think off the top of my head, I've got to know and be able to demonstrate 2 solo takedowns, 2 team takedowns. I've got to know and be able to demonstrate 2 ways to defend takedowns. I got to know and be able to demonstrate 3 ways to defend straight or punches. It's got all these different categories. It's got half guard bottom, half guard top, mount bottom, mount top. So many escapes from each position. So many submissions. We even teach submissions so the cops will recognize those and be able to defend those if someone else was doing them to the officer. And so demonstrate 2 effective punches on the level 1 level, foundations in level 1 to go to level 2. So we've got all these, the whole thing's mapped out. There's a game plan for every level. And it's not, hey, I learned a single leg, so now I'm passed off on one of my takedowns. It's, can you do a single leg? It's, you know, so if I went to training and they taught single legs, I would write that into my game plan. Okay, I learned a takedown today. It's a single leg. I could take notes on a single leg, what makes it effective, how it works, how it doesn't work. But then it's on me to continue to train that until I become proficient.
Nice.
I could maybe have an outside trip as my second takedown. Maybe I learn a double leg, but I don't train double legs and I don't become proficient. Well, then that would not be in my game plan. So just because I get shown a technique doesn't mean that I know it. But the levels actually are in depth so that it can be replicated and actually passed on. And my vision is partnering with both police departments and then gyms around the nation as affiliates, and then those gyms offer the curriculum to law enforcement in their area if they so desire it. So that's kind of what we're doing with
awesome.
Merging jiu-jitsu with law enforcement and making it we call it police jiu-jitsu because it's not truly Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Sure, right. It's a mix.
It's a mixed approach.
Yeah. Which is probably, I say probably, it is more, like I said earlier, it's more of what a police officer would need to know in the grand scheme of things. And this is an outside pedestrian looking in that just trains jiu-jitsu, you know.
Well, and here's the difference. Like I appreciate my jiu-jitsu brothers who want to do police training and take their white belt curriculum and say it's tactical. Put the word tactical on anything and suddenly it's something you can sell to a police department. And by the way, like they may give the police department the best white belt training, and that's going to make those cops better, or blue belt, whatever.
Right.
But it's still not, just because you say it's police
doesn't mean
tactics.
Right.
It's not.
It's not. Right.
The difference between them and me is I've gone to jiu-jitsu or MMA class for over 2 decades and then gone outside and used it. So you can't even compare it. I mean, it's not even the same thing. You're teaching, for most jiu-jitsu programs that I see in the industry, and I'm familiar with them. I've looked at what they teach. I've taken classes for some of them. I haven't done GST, which is one of the biggest names, but I know lots of GST people, and I'm familiar. I've had a look at what they're doing. A cop would be better served to just go join a jiu-jitsu gym and get a blue belt because he's training more regularly. And he's getting everything he's going to get from GST from going to jiu-jitsu class. PJJ is massively different, and he's going to get a lot. He's going to get, and I always tell guys, you could be a purple belt and be a level 1 in PJJ because you don't punch each other in the face and you don't start on your feet.
Yeah.
There's whole gyms out there that start on their butt or pull guard. Sure. They don't have any takedown game.
You're full. Yeah. You're full life action in action. You know what I mean? Like, so it's real. Like it's not that. Yeah. Look, I go get beat up all the time, or I get to beat others up, whatever, at the gym all the time on the mats. It's real. It can be real, but it's not like going out in the street and being a police officer and doing the right thing to where you're not trying to hurt someone. You're trying to keep them under control and not hurt themselves, you know?
Yeah, but both of you guys are fully capable. This isn't brain surgery that I'm doing. You guys would be great cops if you had chosen that career path, and you could do it. Your perseverance and your willingness to do jujitsu shows you have that aspect, and I'm sure you'd be every bit as good a cop as me. But the reality is you haven't done it, and
Sure,
I
right.
did, and so that's the difference. Is like I'm well aware of good strategies for me to use as a police officer. And I've had great jujitsu coaches, and it's not a knock on them at all. I don't go to them and ask them what I should do when someone tries to take my gun away. They've never even protected a gun.
Right.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
I trouble now. There is some very jujitsu specific things and wrestling specific things I can do to retention of my handgun, and there's some very specific things that are spot on that come right out of those rooms. But those guys don't know what they are.
Yeah.
And it's not a knock on them. It's reality. And so now here's the thing though. My goal, man, my vision, guys, is I'm going to bridge that gap between the community resources and the departments. And my idea is to take that curriculum and share it with community partners that desire that. If that's not a gym's thing and they're happy just having cops come and train, that's cool too. But if a gym wants to have an actual LEO or even a good self-defense curriculum, that's kind of what we're doing now. That's our latest push. Is I don't want to partner with just other cops. I want to put police departments and local resources in connection with one another and allow for those that want to do it and allow them to have a good LEO curriculum that gives guys skill sets that will make them safer at work. And then if you make the cops safer, you make everyone safer.
Everyone's safe. Yeah.
It's I mean, you're building your community by doing that.
Yeah.
You're making a better community by doing it, and doing it the way that you're doing it and want to do it. And that's your vision. It's the solidification of bringing an entire community together because of what it represents. That's awesome. Good on you, man. That's that's
it's
good.
It's been
man.
amazing, bro. I've been doing it for about so I put the curriculum in a fashion that I could share with affiliates about 6 months ago, and we've got close to 20 affiliates now. We're in 13 states, I think, right now.
Man, awesome.
Very cool.
And you're just scratching the surface now. Like you're good.
And we want to make sure that if gyms or gym owners want that resource, that they can provide it. If all a gym provides is a great, safe place to work out and the cop can come and work on a skill set, you're already winning. If they have a desire to have a little bit more focused curriculum, then we can help provide that.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool. That's so cool. I'm going to ask you something on a side note here. So it's not funny, and I'm not going to mention any names. So the social media of overtaking of teaching people how to defend themselves in a field of you being in, like, you're a professional. I look at you as like top echelon. Other guys, you know, Jay and Ari and stuff, that there are other people that are now taking over social media and teaching people certain moves, and there's become many memes and all that. What is the take on that? Like, from your perspective, like, for true law enforcement officers, and I don't know if these other people are or not. I know nothing about them. I've not researched about them. I'm sure you've seen things, Mr. Lyman. You know what I'm talking about a little bit.
They're not.
But so it just blows my mind that people are looking at this. I know some are making fun of it, but other people are like, "Oh, this works," and I'm like, "What?" Like,
so it's a microcosm of life, right? It's a microcosm of everything we've kind of been talking about. Is people want to be told that things are easy and you can rapidly you can, and it is a problem in the law enforcement world, because there's a lot of administrators who want lesson plans that they can train annually or biannually for their cops, and then they're going to stick and actually have move the needle in the field performance wise. There's no such thing. There's no easy way to do anything. Everything requires, the formula for everything is consistency over time equals results. C over T equals R. Now, the result you get is either you suck more than when you started because you consistently over time do nonsense. So you even suck more or you consistently over time do nothing. Well, now you're horrible. The only way to move the needle the way you want, because here's the good news and bad news with consistency over time. You always get a result. There's no not get a result.
Right.
So we're getting results in every aspect of our lives. We're getting results in our work relationships. We're getting results in our physical fitness, getting results in our personal relationships with our significant others, getting results as a dad or a husband or a business partner. You're getting results. And largely those results are based on your choices, what we talked about earlier. What do I do consistently over time? That gives me a result. So guys like that, if you were to follow him to try to be safer or like those popular guys, the result you're going to consistently get over time is a lack of performance when it counts, a false sense of security, and it's going to have a catastrophic problem. Now, here's the good news for most people. And women, self-defense groups, women's groups, kids groups will often want me to guest instruct, and they think I'm going to show up, and they want me to speak for 2 hours to this women's group, an hour and 20 minutes, and teach them how to be physically safe. And so we do almost no technique. They're often disappointed in that aspect. And I tell them, if you really want to be safe, it's about what you choose to do, what time of day you choose to do it, and who you choose to go there with. Those are the 3 biggest factors to you not being a victim. If you choose to do craziness and party, you choose to do that at odd times, like late at night in secluded places, your potential to be victimized goes through the roof. If you don't do that, it becomes harder to victimize you. That's the good news. The bad news is I can't give you any actionable skills that will help you in a fight that you can just do tonight and learn right now.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
not going to
you don't
happen.
have to practice
Right.
anymore. Go join
Right.
a local jiu-jitsu gym or an MMA gym and go fight.
Yep.
2 to 5 times a week, every week, if you want to get good at fighting. But even if you do that, you'll find there's people you can't beat in that environment. You could work.
Mm-hmm.
I could put in 2 to 5 workouts a week, and I'm still not the best in the world. So the key factors are going to be to self-defense are going to be, where am I at? Who am I with? And what are we doing?
Yeah.
And those things are going to lead to more safety by making those decisions appropriately than anything else I could give you. Having said that, I know I'm going to fight if I have to fight, so I might as well be good at it, so that if I lose, the requirement is not that I win or lose. The requirement is that I'm competent enough in the fight that I know what's happening when I'm losing. That's what I'm training for. I have
Sure.
guys at my gym I'll never beat. But if they beat me and I'm defending right up to the moment I have to tap, and I'm defending intelligently, that's the best I can hope for. They're just better than me.
Sure.
So I need to know the answer. The other person plays a role in whether or not I'll be successful in executing whatever the answer is. But I owe it to my wife and my family, self-defense wise, because I've chosen a profession I've chosen. And I tell my wife all the time, the biggest fear I actually have, guys, is that I'll get knocked out on camera, and not because I'm worried about that or that I'll get killed. It's because people who don't do what we do will point at it and go, oh, look, people like this guy who's a charlatan will say, well, that's a sport. That was his problem. He did sports stuff.
Right.
Come do the real stuff with me. I'm going to show you the secrets that when you go out this door, because, you know, they present jiu-jitsu and MMA like it's some casual over tea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
When you fight each other, it's, hey, MMA is a sport. The sport is knock his face in.
Yep.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Like render him asleep with strikes or chokes. That's the sport. It's supremely violent. It's horrifically hard to coach guys and watch your guy take a beating. It's why I don't corner guys anymore. Because
you
it
used
hurt
to,
me.
didn't you? Guys, you did at one
Oh,
time.
I did
Didn't you? Yeah, I
for
thought
years.
so.
Yeah, I cornered. I got paid money to coach, and I cornered professionally. It took stuff out of me. Everyone I've ever cornered is retired, and I judge fights now, and so I don't mix the two.
Sure.
I don't coach MMA at Extreme. Other coaches do that. I still have access to it, and I see great stuff, and I rub elbows with those guys, and I'll use that stuff with my cops. But I don't coach any active fighters. I coach jiu-jitsu classes and self-defense classes and PJJ classes. But that way I can judge the fights, and that's much easier for me than cornering guys.
Sure.
So they talk about it like it's sport. And so we see these false narratives, and the two false narratives are this. Number one is, I'm going to show you this life-saving thing that if they do this, you do this in this encounter, and you're going to somehow survive and win. That's lie number one. Because if there was something that worked, I would steal it. And then that's all we would do, because it works.
Right, exactly.
Well,
right.
me and my guys would do it and win all our fights.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Idiots. They act like I'm just passing on this masterful thing that I could do and win every time, and I'm just letting my guy go out there and lose. No, that's all we would do. If there's something that worked, I would do it, and that would be it. But everything fails. Nothing works. Nothing doesn't work. It's failure upon failure upon failure until you find that thing that wins for you.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the big lie. Number one is, if he does this, I'll do this. Like it's like fights happen that way, and they don't. Then the second big lie is that what we do is a sport, and what they do is real. It's total nonsense.
Yeah.
Like I step out in the street after training hard in the gym, and suddenly I can't do the crap I was doing on a matted surface, because suddenly I'm on pavement. Like I don't know what I'm doing all of a sudden.
Right.
Those guys are absolute clowns. I used to call them out occasionally just because I'd get so irritated. And I even had guys say they were going to come and
try.
let's just come and do it. And the only caveat is we get to video it and we get to post it. We'll do video live.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm coming. They would never come. So I got tired of asking.
Yeah.
So John Bartolo, though, the John Bartolo show, he actually made an offer to one of the really prominent guys right now to come on and do a panel with me and Tom DeBlas and who else? There's someone else, and do a panel with us.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
And that guy said, and John offered a certain amount of money to be donated to the charity of that guy's choice.
Oh, okay.
And he'd fly and put him up, and then the guy doubled the amount to go into the charity. And then John said, okay. And then he moved the needle again and made more demands. And then I told John, like when John called me, I go, hey man, I don't want to do this because I don't have anything nice to say. I don't want to ambush the guy. You'd have to tell him up front that I'm going to call him a fraud, tell him he's a clown. He can't fight his way out of the bag. And it's not going to be a thing where we're going to try to find common ground. And I'm going to say, well, that's another way to do it. I said, I'm not doing any of that. I'm going to call the dude out and say he's a complete. And why do I want to do that? Why
put yourself in that position?
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
It'd still be a great panel with just John, you, and Tom, like just sitting down and talking. That'll still be a great panel because you guys have a plethora of information.
So then he goes, well, I talked to the guy, and the guy said, that's fine. And I said, okay, well, if we're all going to tell the truth, he can tell the truth about my sports stuff and I'll tell the truth about him. But then the guys just kind of dodged. And so I haven't messaged John back, but I'm going to message him this week and go, hey, that dude's a complete clown. I don't want to give him any more notoriety.
But
that guy's a real guy and really runs a school.
That's unbelievable to me.
Area.
Like
people reach out to me.
I feel bad for you guys that are actually putting in the time and the effort to, quite frankly, save people's lives in a right manner way. And even Tom has posted stuff, Coach DeBlas has posted stuff even on his about how there are people out there like yourself that are really, really training people to do the right thing as himself. And my coach too, because Coach Kuhn's my coach, and training people to take care of themselves in the right way. And then you have guys out there that are just being dumb. And I'm thinking, you're hurting people. And people are following this and watching this. It blows my mind, but I know the society that we live in now. So
yeah. And it's frustrating a little bit because that guy knows he can't fight, but we've seen these kind of people in every walk of life.
Sure.
You see politicians who act like they're really people and they're really for themselves. You see, you might see a religious person. I'm very, very religious, and you see people who will actually use religion to victimize other people. I can't think of anything more abhorrent than doing that. This guy's making a buck. It's how he makes his money, and he gets to hide behind it and say, well, you know, all these sport guys, you know, I'm not going to engage them. And people want to be told. And my wife and I have even had this conversation before, as I've tried to grow the business over the years of training departments and training cops. She said, hey, is there a quicker way or simpler way to do this stuff? And I'm like, no.
Nope.
That's the beauty. That's the beauty and the curse.
Yeah.
Is if you keep at it, you're gonna get better. You're gonna
Sure.
better yourself. But it's just like life. And my wife doesn't train, but then that resonates with her because she's a phenomenal human being. And I go, well, sweetie, how easy is it to be switched on spiritually? How easy is it to be switched on in your marriage? How
Sure.
easy is it to be committed to me and not build an online relationship with another dude because I might make you upset or not pay attention to you enough? How easy is it for you to focus your attention from me rather than help me work through what I'm not giving you so that our relationship's healthy, you know? And she understands that aspect. And I say, there's no different. There's no part of our life that I can give you this magic pill. There's no magic pill for anything.
Yeah. Doesn't exist.
Physical fitness or anything.
Yeah.
And for emotional stability, it's all consistency over time. It's all struggle. It's all using agency wisely. These are universal laws that to me point to an architect of a system. But if there's not, that's fine too. I'll hopefully be better when I'm done with this life. And if that's all there is, well, hopefully I did good here.
Yeah, you did great, man. Yeah,
absolutely.
So we've kept you for like an hour and a half, my friend, and you've killed it. It's been awesome. One thing I do want to go back to the show. You have a huge window still of opportunity. So don't sell yourself short because you're giving something that is your purpose. That's your blessing and your purpose to give to people in the world, you know, that we're Coach and I, you know, being able to have this opportunity to meet you, sit with you and talk to you, let alone to get all the information out and everything that you're doing. So don't say that window's shorting. I don't want to hear you say that. I want you to say that window's going to keep brightening and broadening as you keep going every day, because there's a lot of people out there that are still going to need this information that you're giving to them all the time with all the directions and the curriculum that you have built over this time. So I appreciate it so much for you taking the time and sitting with us. I want you to shout out all your socials and how all these people can get at you, or if they need to contact you, any outlet out there. I know you always, you know, you have a good social media presence, and then we'll have all that in the notes, obviously, and everything. So anything and everyone that you want to shout out, go ahead, Mr. Lyman. Appreciate it.
So to get a hold of me, it's C4C Operator on Instagram. It's my personal page. I'll do a lot of jiu-jitsu stuff on there. I'll throw some of my family stuff up, and then C4C PJJ is another Instagram account that I'll take stuff that's primarily for law enforcement training or military, but it's not a closed page. I'm pretty open about what I do. I believe in transparency. I don't mind if civilians see good law enforcement training. I think it's healthy. It helps bridge the gap between us and the people we serve. Facebook's, I think, Chad Lyman or Code 4 Combat. If you Google me or put me in a search on Facebook, I'm going to pop up Code 4 Combat. Not active on Twitter, really. I've got a Twitter account. I don't really put anything there. YouTube, though, I've got a Chad Lyman YouTube place I'll post video, and also a C4C PJJ place I'll post videos. So on YouTube, and I post quite a bit there as well.
Nice.
I'm very responsive. If you direct message me, I'll get back to you. I'm very interested in collaborating and sharing, especially with people in the law enforcement or jiu-jitsu MMA community that want to connect those two communities. That's a big push of mine. The website for the parent business that I own the combatives wing of is Progressive Force Concepts, PFC Training. So www.pfctraining.com. And we offer training to military units, tactical teams, patrol officers, and then qualified civilians. We actually own a range here in Southern Nevada, 70 plus acres. And for those tactical and shooting courses, those are led by a whole host of guys. The company is actually quite large. We've got a number of full-time personnel, and all of them are former action guys. They're all former military. They served in teams you had to go through selection to be on. And then they also, most of them served in law enforcement as well, and served in tactical positions in law enforcement as well. I'm by far on the tactics side, or the tactics like room clearing and team assault stuff and vehicle assault and hostage rescue. I'm by far the least qualified of all of our guys. We've got guys who did that for years on alphabet teams, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
Great dudes, great humans, great instructors. That's PFC training, and you can find all kinds of training needs there, the answers to those. If you have a C4C PJJ or a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu need, also there's some academies that affiliate with me on the Jiu-Jitsu side. So if people have a idea of affiliation, they would like to do that on either the police training side or the Jiu-Jitsu side, that's no problem. For any gyms out there that have thought about having a law enforcement affiliation, we don't care about your Jiu-Jitsu affiliation, and we'll make sure not to step on toes. That's one of the reasons we don't give belts, so that there's no, you know, you could be a Henzo gym and be a PJJ gym, because we're not Jiu-Jitsu.
Sure.
We're not giving a Jiu-Jitsu rank or belt. We're giving a police Jiu-Jitsu rank or belt, or rank rather, not belt. And that's on purpose too. That's to show respect. So if a gym has a lineage they want to maintain on the Jiu-Jitsu side, we got no issue with that at all. And in fact, we would respect and encourage that.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's even, that's a huge step, because, you know, people would be like, oh, well, we don't want to give up our affiliation, but
I'm glad you covered it, because I was going to ask that too, if you double affiliate or whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we if a gym has a desire to affiliate with us on the Jiu-Jitsu side, we can provide that. But if you're happy with that affiliation, we want to encourage it. The goal is to spread as much resources for cops to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
It's not for me to hold on to it and me to roll over it, and I'm the only guy who's got the knowledge or whatever. It's not that at all. My vision is to actually spread it like wildfire across all team flags. I could care less what your team flag is.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Cool.
Coach Kuhn, you got anything for him?
No, keep talking, keep in contact. I'd love to have you out sometime for, jiu-jitsu and law enforcement. We can make something happen, it'd be very cool. Yeah.
I'll watch when you do if it's an LEO, I'll just come and film it and watch. Since I'm not in LEO.
Hey, you guys can be in the room, no problem.
Yeah.
And we can film a wrist lock video together.
Hey, we have civilians that help us instruct too, man.
Yep.
Spread the love.
That's awesome.
You're a great coach and you teach solid fundamentals and you teach in a principle concept-based manner, or you'd like to, even if you're not. You don't have to be a cop to help us, man. We accept
awesome.
We accept you as you are. So
Good.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Awesome, man.
All right, brothers.
Hey, thank you so much, man. God bless you and your family and everything you're doing. Stay safe out there and keep training people, man, doing the right thing. It's awesome.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Brother. Yes, we'll see you. Hey everyone, we hope you enjoyed the show today. Remember, go out there and check out all our sponsors. By supporting them, you support the LimitLess Radiocast podcast. It helps us bring you guys content each and every week and keeps us going. Thank you, and we appreciate you for all you do. LimitLess Radiocast is brought to you by True Tubes Tattoo Supply. LimitLess 10 at checkout for a 10% discount on all your tattoo needs. They have state-of-the-art equipment for everyday needs in the tattooer's life. Check them out. Remember, stay true. Limitless Radiocast is also brought to you by Magic City Brewing Company. Best beer brewed in the hometown of Akron, Ohio. Check them out. Check out RollAmongUs.com. Put in Limitless 20 at checkout for a 20% discount on all your fight gear needs. That's gis, lanky gis, rash guards, spats, fight shorts. They have t-shirts and accessories. Check them out. Great place ran by a great guy. Also check out battlebomb.com. Put in LimitLess20 at checkout for a 20% discount. You have CBD and non-CBD rub to rub on those aches and pains from hard training, hard work, everyday life. Check them out. Remember, LimitLess20 at checkout, battlebomb.com.